Well, guys, welcome back to the old time religion. Um, we're gonna be doing that episode 2 this time. There's only 2 episodes. Like I said in the last video, one before that. This game hasn't been updated in like a year, so I mean, I highly doubt episode 3 is ever gonna come out. So, anyways, I liked Rabbi Saul ever since that business with Gospel Divine a while back. He and I had become pals. We've got together at least once a week between the fat, discussing sports and news, and generally just enjoying each other's company. We were both men who understood how crappy the world could be. Not that I wanted to convert or anything, but I did like the man. He only ever made his pitch once to me. It was over bourbon and pretzels at Murphy's down near the docks. The man could drink like a longshoreman, which makes sense considering that's what he'd done before the preaching gig took hold. Harv, who spoke over a glass of bourbon, that voice that stands out in New Orleans like a $5 trumpet, debunked the ball. You make a mighty fine Jew, my lad. I take endlessly held it for a few moments on my tongue. Murphy knew his Kentucky bourbon, swallowed and glared at Saul. Now, why would you go and say a thing like that? Because you, my friend, know from suffering, or do you know from suffering? We both stared at each other for a beat, then simultaneously burst out laughing for about 10 minutes, and we got back to talking about New Orleans' baseball team, the Buglers. Saul and I usually met on Sunday, which both amused both of us in a town full of Catholics and Protestants. I was mildly surprised when I got the call from him in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. The strange tone in his voice did nothing to make me feel any better. Harvey, busy this afternoon? Didn't have that. Let's grab an early dinner, catch a show feel to it. My stomach got cold. Just supposed to check some low when he gets off work, seeing if it's hitting the tracks before going home. I could put it off though. You know I don't like interrupt a minute's work off, but he trailed off and I was pretty sure that he could spot on my stomach was turning into an icy chunk or a historic being. What it was, I knew. Our history being what it was, I knew a case was at hand and it was going to be one of those cases. Don't you worry, Rabbi, see you at Murphy's in half an hour. The man looked like he'd seen a ghost and I saw him sitting on our usual booth far from the door. I hate being right about things like that. There was a man I knew when I was but a boy, Harvey, but you know I'm a German Jew born and raised in Augsburg, right? He was sitting in his glass of bourbon pretty hard. Murphy let me know as subtly that he'd already had two doubles before I got there. Yeah, sure, Saul. You told me I've always been surprised about how you don't have much of an accent, at least why it's not one that undercuts that New Yorker, Delhi and taxis, yeah, whatever, voice of yours. I was going for a lap, but all I got was a brief mark, and then that halted look came back. Yeah, I mean, the Yankee duck out of water still, I remember a lot from my childhood there. Frankly, there are some things I wish I didn't. He drained his glass and motioned for another. I never seen Saul put that much why I'm not a man given to alarmist reactions, but I was starting to worry a bit. Okay, Rabbi, what is it? What kind of trouble are you in? He looked back at me a bit shocked that I know nonsense face. I'm the kind of face that people have to see before someone ends up shot. He seemed to pull himself together and suddenly set his features a bit firmer too. No, Horace, I like that. At least once I didn't think so. It probably had nothing to do with me at all. Could it be God just figured I should be around for when this guy popped up back again? He stood at the nearest window for a moment, then practically whispered, "The big guy has a wicked sense of humor, you know. So who is this guy who popped back up? Someone from your childhood in Germany?" I didn't like coincidences. They almost never were. I knew his name was as Richard Lowenhurst. He was a very strange man. Harvey spoke with a kind of an English accent, but there was definitely something very French about him too. He spoke German pretty well, but had a lot of archaic words in his dictionary, if you know what I mean. His eyes got far away as he was looking clearly, remembering the details. He was dressed and what carried him made him all the stranger. You see, of course, the first time I saw him was in the middle of a riot, as he saved my father's life along with a number of others. Being a Jew in Europe's never been particularly easy, Harvey. Being a Jew in Germany is over the last few decades or so. It's been really hard, though. It's sometimes downright fatal. Folks want to blame us for everything. Losing the big war definitely falls into the category of things to beat Jews up for. I'm just glad we left before all that. Saul knew pain, both emotional and physical, but he always kept his good nature, knows no dignity no matter what. I considered it something of an honor that he started letting me see how vulnerable he was, what happened to him and his family, though it was also damn hard to take at times. The kinds of things that happen to these people are kinds of things I usually got pretty riled up over. There are lines you just don't cross. The folks crossed them all the time. Then, when they were desperate, hungry, and lost, no need to blame someone else for the troubles. He went on, still with that distant look. They set a bunch of Jewish and immigrant business on fire. Folks were being dragged out of their homes, lashed up to poles, kind of like what they say happened to Jesus, and being whipped and beaten up and down the streets. My father, right now, some others, a gun in the ringleader's face, the men all stopping. He and the others didn't have any weapons. He was a man of peace, you see. Just didn't believe in bringing a weapon to talk to people. They weren't going to get any help from the local council, literally. Either half those guys were in on it and the rest were too smart to get themselves killed. Then when the guys walk up and now he got some kind of coat, like a duster your cowboys still wear out west. He has a wide brimmed hat, but the brim is flat, so he's on top of the hat. Looked at him like a missionary's topper. Really, his clothes are mostly black, but as the coat flap opens, you can tell he's wearing a tabard under. And wait, what? I interrupted, not understanding at all what he meant. A tabard, like from the medieval era, like knights and squires and all that stuff. You got it, Harv. I always thought it was a good thing your mother made you read so much. He favored me with a genuine smile and then went back to his tale. Yeah, it was a tabard. It was white at some point, and some parts of it still were and had a red cross like on the classic Crusader sword. It was torn and ragged, but clearly he tried to keep it in some kind of repair. That's not the strangest thing, though. Really, because that's pretty strange in my book. Yeah, well, that's what he brought out to make the writers back down and put an end to the violence that really got the eye. Across his chest was a dual pistol rig. I could swear to you those were the Colt peacemakers he had strapped. He didn't draw them out, though. Instead, out comes this long, heavy sword, and it's like shining like the Dickens in that firelight. This weren't no costume piece, Harvey. This was the bona fide real deal, and he knew how to use it. A lopped off hand here, cuts on his face, and next there, and he and those bastards running with this without a single death. That distant look had gone to a bit of a wander, and I let him reveal a moment as I pondered what seemed like a load of bull from a man I trusted to be absolutely honest with me. After all, we shared in some pretty strange business together already. He hung around for a couple of days, so I'm making sure those thugs were just alone while folks put out the fires and repaired things. He even had a long talk with the local authorities, and he actually shamed them into doing their jobs. It was something to see. My papa actually asked me for his name, and he just asked him for his name, and he just said, "Call me Richard, please." That was it. Of course, folks started calling him Lowenherz, and it stuck. He drank the rest of his current glass of bourbon, and I was relieved that he didn't signal for another one. Like I said, he left us for 2 days, and that was the last I saw of him. He turned away from the window and looked at me, dead in the eyes for all he had to drink, and they were crystal clear and full of conviction. Until yesterday, Harvey. Yesterday, I swear to you, I saw that man I knew as Richard Lowenherz walk out of the Bishop Brian McLaughlin's church. Sure, as we were sitting at this table, the man didn't look a single day older than he did almost 50 years ago, and didn't bother asking him. Most would have asked Saul was sure enough, and saying those words would have done nothing but damage the trust we had. Most folks would have shook their heads and walked away convinced the old rabbi was nuts and be avoided. Having done and pulled the Lazarus act myself once already, I had a bit more tolerance for nuts. I did have one question I needed answering, though. So I get why you're a little unnerved, but if this guy's as good as you say, walks on the side of the angels, why are you so worried? You don't know much German, do you, Harv? It was rhetorical. Aside from ordering sauerkraut my dogs once in a while, I didn't speak a word of it. Lowenherz is a typical German surname, my friend. It's a title that only one famous man is really known for, and my people honestly believed it was him who came and saved us. Lowenherz is German for Lionheart. A crusader in New Orleans. Sells a lot of money. He knows how to make it. He knows how to manage it well. He also happens to be a very smart man. I knew that since he was bringing me in on this. He wanted me to look at it as a professional private investigator. That being said, Saul's a pal, and I step up to do a favor for him any time as he would for me. I also knew we didn't need to discuss fees because he see to it a generous amount ended up in my bank account anyway. Let's go to where he said he was, the Bishop McLaughly. I met the good Bishop Brian McLaughly at the same time I met Saul Noir, Lance Big Hound and Daddy Thunderhand of the three. It's fair to say I'm at least close to Father Brian, mostly because I make him distinctly uncomfortable. I don't really blame the poor guy. He's a devout Catholic surrounded by the kind of things he always taught that either deny the existence or preach against in the most forceful of terms. Reality forced him to instead deal with folks who constantly shook his foundations. He has to do it to take care of his flock, and he's good enough religious leader to make it do what he's most for those who follow him, but he doesn't have to like it. I'm pretty sure that story about how I got dead and stood back up has a lot to do with the particular discomfort around me. After all, my name's not Lazarus. It's not the lamb either, so I don't have the right of kind of claim on such miracles. So like I asked for it, not that I'm complaining either, but it did make my life less complicated, that's for sure. Regardless of how uncomfortable I make the good bishop, I had no doubt that he'd see me and give me whatever he had on this richer guy. After all, the more I dealt with the supernatural weirdness of the city, the less he'd had to. Imagine my surprise when I discovered how strong I was. I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins, but Bishop McLaughly is simply not available at this time. She was cute, but a bit thin for my taste. It was a bit too severe with the minimalist makeup and the frock, but there was a subtle something under it all That told me she'd probably be a lot more approachable for the right guy, which of course was nowhere near to being. Look, the Padre knows me, and he probably knows why I'm here. There's cars outside, and there's a light under that door, so you're going to have to do better than that. At least go tell me I'm here. Her face didn't move an inch, but her eyes still didn't manage to let me know that she was going to let me talk around her orders like that. If you'd like to come back tomorrow, say. She glanced at the calendar. Oh, never mind. He's booked up until at least late Thursday, he was seen. You know, and I know you're giving me the runaround, lady. If that Padre don't want to talk to me, he ought to have the nerve to at least tell me to my face, concerning what history we have. I assure you, Mr. Jenkins, that she got cut off as we both heard a raised voice behind the bishop's door. You need to go, Mr. Jenkins, now, please, sir. Our private church matter is going on you have no business in. Nuts to that, man. Nuts to that. I slid past her desk before she could rise to stop me and went straight to the door. Mr. Jenkins, that wasn't for me. She knew I wasn't stopping for anything at that point. Mr. Warren, whoever was on the other side of that door, locked. It makes it really hard to make it more dramatic interest when the door is locked, especially if you actually respect the person you're barging in on enough to try not to bust up his place of business. But I thought that Brian wasn't at any actual danger. That flimsy hand lock would have stopped me, but turning off a knob or crooked door frame is a lousy way to treat him, and you're trying to get a favor from him if he's just having an argument with someone. Bishop opened the door. I got a situation that's not going to wait. Silence and some movement. The lock was undone. Bishop Brian McLaughter stares daggers through me as he opened the door partially. He clearly had no intention of me coming in, and he stared through a crack barely wider than my hand. Harvey Jenkins, I don't know who you think you are, but I think I'm the man who's studied more than one flavor in recent times, Padre, and I meet your friend has some real concerns about a peculiar visitor that's come to town. Considering the history of this guy, I'm thinking I don't have a whole lot of time to mess around. I sure as hell ain't waiting until sometime after Thursday to make an appointment. I actually pushed at the door hard enough to shove him back just a little. I still have to shove more to actually get inside, but the view is bigger now. Thing is, I really wasn't trying to browbeat McLaughter. My eyes were firmly fixed on the interior of the room. I wanted to get a look at whoever he was arguing with, since I was fairly certain it was a coincidence that he had met with Richard just yesterday, and I was having important clandestine meetings with folks today, just an instinct behind you, but I have learned to trust him completely. I have no desire to test my ability to get up from the dead a second time. There in the corner farthest from the window, enough shadows to conceal literally everything but a fancy robes with the hood. Whoever he was, he stood casually. It was obvious he was trying to avoid being seen clearly enough for identification. His outfit was really fancy, like ornate, like something from the Renaissance era, the kind of thing you might expect for someone from the actual Vatican to wear. Brian wasn't a particularly strong man, but he was determined, and I didn't push any harder. He moved me back out, stood out of his office, and pulled the door close behind him. You're way out of line, Mr. Jenkins. No matter what relationship may be, this behavior borders on illegal land. Well, that's Padre. I apologize. Just got off the way Miss Prissy was treating me. I heard a stiff from behind me that I could have swear I almost saw one corner of the bishop's mouth quirk up ever so slightly. He was all business, though, and he went on in a low, soft tone that was barely more than a whisper. We are not discussing this right now. Come back tomorrow and I will explain what I can, which is frankly very little. Do not be seen coming here, though. There are watchers, and you will create difficulties for both of us. Let's use the sinner's way. His eyes were actually full of desperate pleading, so I simply raised my hands, touched the brim of the fedora, and a casual salute to both him and the secretary made my way out. Whatever was going on was serious, though. The sinner's way was the secret tunnel beneath the catacombs of his main church house. Maybe one of a handful of folks in the whole world who even knew about it. Time to wander the streets to see who anyone knows about this guy. I developed something of a problem, and the big easy people know who I am. That's not a bad thing for getting help from those that like me, or it's more often the case. Want something from me, or want me to owe them a favor. It's early crap for just sidling up with someone, shouting with them about the latest gossip about whatever I'm looking into. More often than not, the folks who most likely have the information I need find reasons to go to the opposite direction when they see me coming. It can make for really long nights. I've got other leads to work with. Of course, I do tend to start with the folks I get along with, those who want me favors, and those who want me in on the good side. That could cut down time a lot, especially if I get lucky. Then again, with a stranger like Richard Lowenhurst wandering around, just like a rabbi says, he's lucky. His luck is only part of it. Guy like that makes waves, no matter how subtle he may try to play things. He knows when she's odd company wandering the streets. After a few hours of Wilton and I picked up that big guy fitting the description I've been seen around town, apparently searching for something. Occasionally he busts up fights and interfere in the mugging or beat down, that kind of thing. Mostly though, he asks folks about children gathering together for some kind of grand purpose. Most folks shrugged it off as a creepy and weird. Me, I figured it meant something were about to go a whole lot worse. Eventually, the information led me to a hotel pretty far off the beaten path. at a place called Le Grand Mason. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to end the video here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see y'all later.